Bola binaka na bebekani ni sema tikumai na yakabi binaka ni kuwa. Okay. Okay, ulitaka ni sa rongo tikumba kaya ni na domini Talanoa enaka binaka ni sirini kuwa iya. Nimbula binaka ena Talanoa ni Vunilagi Book Club. Bambul chukani bikim ni kede na biokani oni sema tiko mai ena yakabi binaka ni sirini kuwa. Sirini kuwa tolu na wano kato sema tuka ni kinango au sema sar tuka ningo California ya Amerika. Sema tiko mai o Mariana Waqa mai Malebani mai Australia. Sema tiko mai o Rogoiga Soweri mai na Korturanga suba mai viti babi ni binaka baka levu ni rani keto mai sema bata keto mai sota na biokani ena sinu binaka ni konto taka ngona balavu ni to tubu chukumai me keto mai sota ndara kana ni to marau na lewani kalo me keto mai ndambe bata baka biokani na sinu binaka ni ko merani keto mai Talanoa member lete tiko na isongo binaka ngona Vunilagi Book Club. Klani lewi kimnio ni santo redi chukumai na nono to programu rtono nga Talanoa taka ni kone lewo na itamba na wasi chukayani marotek talanga ni romitiko na kena baka ungeti na Willy Ball. Na kena baka bimbita kena Willy Ball beira na lubenda. Ori di katalanga seng wel mbeka nga beira na lubenda bi kena saranga langasi. Da baka ungeti menda tali taka na Willy Ball maro taka ni na may sama bata ni sigini kuwa menda rani na may baka ungeti kina. Iya, me baka nga keni bala bikim ni na biokani nindo baka murito kumay na nunggoy bata-bata. Me baka ni maramati ko ni daon robe o Mariana and sana ngande manda ki bonoliwe. Kero ki mbulu Rogoiga kero nangay song-song. Nangay do na sera me kandabo nangay baka tengi-tekian me songo tanan nanda bitalo ni kuwa. Gona sera me berto na dakon robe mbo maduwata vitale nemani wata ke Sofia ena sere ni CBM takon robe bua matawata nimbula binaka.
Daungan revelovoli
sa rongo-rongo re, rongo-rongo siandina na sere oya, me berto o tale ne mani ke sofai rongo-rongo binakandina na seroya ka koti kende kina bono to toka o bono lebu na tolu na sana tiko na yanu lebu bono lebu o the kaunrobe mbua watake maduata ya na siku na ko ndala baka mbula sara be Mariana siya matingo ko may Melbourne may Australia bakatala kina Rogoiga siya matiko may suba nagay baka madalta ko na say suba taba siya matiko mikina iya sa dala baka mbula sara ngo be Mariana bula binaka Mariana binaka balebu na siya mamay ni ko.
Iyo Nimbolvinaka, Dr. Tarisi. Thank you for having us this evening.
Sabi nako vale Sara, vavin vinaka Mariana. That's been a while that we've been planning to meet, and I always believe that when it's God's timing, it's always the right time. And here we are. Mito mintan bato vital no takamanda na songo binakango na Vunilagi book club ya Mariana sembaramanda ni to na lanja ni na ulutangan ni Vunilagi baka madaltikim ni manta may weekend nanom mata bubale your family in Fiji nanom do family may Australia and why you connecting from Melbourne.
Ia vinaka Dr. Tarisi, nimbula vinaka na erango Mariana, au ngone ni lovuni vonu mai taviuni, au vasuti ko ina waikama mai ngau. Au tumbu dhakinga mai Australia, au asuvu mai viti au ngei tumbu dhaki mai Australia, na 2017 au ngei lakiani viti. Au sa au lakiani o le dhaka me vitu na yambaki.
Dina, isa. Kimpalambale, ang bakibida Mariana no mumbimbi may biti mo ngayon do ngole Australia.
Au singei ono na yambaki.
Kimbale se donia na class 2, class 1.
Iyo, but our lakumaike gay beauty au sombo nonguna meu start mina prep baleta awas ni kilatu na vosvavalangi.
Ele, Sandina. Totoka baka sa may lobo ni Bono, may tabiuni, vaso na way kama, may nga undole bitamada na vitali ni Mariana.
E rua tiku na tavingu dua o Taiania ke o Melania.
Andina, do tu kere Melbourne?
Ke tō tiko Kevingo e Melbourne, yes.
Isa. Bata virau na nomu tumbo, nomu tumbo turanga, nomu ta, bat ke nomu na.
Io, na ia vei nonguta o Solomoniwanga, o nonguna o Lowata Mateitonga.
Andina, isa. Vinaka bakalibu. Ken balambali num do sala ko Australia, nomu buli ko buli kere Melbourne, primary, secondary, mega besar nomu sa ngoleni na tertiary.
Ia saka. Awa vuli Malevani na nongu primary, vatakina nongu high school, o tia onge le vuli tale mai Sydney, meo dhakava na nongu vuli ni theology.
Sandina. Vinaka bakalibu Mariana, na nomu baka matal takamai na bono da butumikina. To sana lan salongo be Rogoiga. Mpule vinaka Rogoiga ke ramandangani o matal teki ke muni mai vera na vararongo. Na nomu koro ni vasu ke na bono asusumikina ro. Iko koro unmute nga, unmute. Ber chumbe kana network Oh, okay, ya, ntar. Well, iya. Ikorongo ta chunga mai bambula mata mai roko, bambula mata mai vera na barong chiko. Vale.
Mbola mbola tatety usitio be lengatiko mpaka nito network.
Isa. Rocco, kusema chukumaibingo?
Au sama satu keningo na korturang isuba na i batuanga.
Andile vatuanga eh. Rani mamadal teki kemuni manta Rocco, ver na varong tiku maina no mukor ke no mukor ni bas. Ni maramanda di be.
Vinaka dokteti teman teman vinaka tak na numni bejingo mena kukunini romaitiko na yakabiniko. Nanguna se kaleleki na ando sustunga bena nongu mbue sanga simai sa sabia lako tikong beka mai na klana tigo buya tam beka na secondary ongi kila ni bule tiko nungu tumbu-tumbu marama yo senga pakando ni sekilana nungu tumbu-tumbu turang au bola kaum bulanga i nambu walu ono kandau ngai susungi uti kondo na turanga turanga ni tabiunye na turanga ni tongong gamea kasama ni wiliki ko nga menunggu tumbu-tumbu turanga
Sabenaka, nakabali Rocco. O abuli man be.
vinaka tatiti nangono se primary school kina au buli nandona kurni buli tiko indalay bisari baka dan toka na Chohan Memorial School wimbasa isaranga na pasingay na plant wall baka layliliw na ninawalu maniu ngole na Indian College nangone na edana kina Indian College ngonongo sa edana tika na Jane Ryan form tolu kina ono maniu leba ko tiana nungu buli na Jasper Williams High School na kurni buli ngone lewe lautoka
Toka. Sandile, nakabali besar Rocco, nakabali Mariana. Iya, taruh beteronga. Menurut saya teman apa? Mariana rani pamadal takamanda bengera ni semba be Rocco. Belati din cuk sar me batuang, cuk sar me malevan.
Vinaka Dr. Tarisi, au kere meu na wasmanda vavalangi, mlet nisi ni matata va vinaka chikuna nungu wasvaviti.
Don.
So Rocco and I met in 2017 when I had returned to Fiji. I returned to Fiji after completing my theological studies, and I was able to volunteer with the Methodist Church of Fiji under the guidance of Reverend James Bhagwan. So when I came into Fiji, part of the work that I was doing was with Uniting World here in Australia, who's a partner of the Methodist Church. And they had been doing some wonderful work in Nanuku settlement. I had no idea about Nanuku settlement. I had no experience, no really real understanding about settlement communities in Fiji. But when I came over, I was asked to do a 7-week survey of the community. I met Rocco's sister, Akanisi, who's one of our volunteers at the Dudley Church, through Dr. Richard Wah, who has now passed away. But he was able to give me entrance into the community. So when we went into scope to do the scope, that is when I met Rocco. And over 7 weeks, we were able to move around in the community. Rocco, one of the Vakatawas from the Vuilevu, and myself, and we surveyed the women in the community. So that is how we met in 2017.
Thank you for giving that background, because that was one of the questions I've always asked. How did how did you two meet, and how Vunilagi Book Club came to be located in Nanuku settlement in Vatuanga? So Vinakavali for that, Mariana, and now for you, Rocco. How was what was your memory like when you met Mariana and Akanisi?
Vinaka Dr. T. So when I first met Mari, for me, it was just like meeting a sister. I got to know her very quickly. And my main aim when I met her was to help her achieve what she wanted. And I believe that from then till now, I had not regret meeting her. And because Akanisi told me a little bit about her, it was, I was like looking forward to meet her in person. And then we met, and till today, we're still here. Vinaka Dr. T.
Vinaka Vakale. Wow. Yeah, it's good to go back in time, to now remember that moment, that where everything started, when you all met in person, and where the idea of the book club must have started there way back then. So for you, Mariana, was it always been your dream to go into the field of theology?
Not at all. I never thought that I would go into theology. I had interests in other things, but my going into theology was definitely a call for me. I was able to, sorry, just one moment. I was able to make a decision based on an invitation in terms of an oceanic conference on theology in Sydney. I was able to attend that, and I had never heard about theology before, let alone oceanic theology. And that is the contextualization of the way that we understand faith, understand the Bible, and the way that it connects to our cultures, our traditions, our identities as Pacific Islanders. So my first introduction to Pacific theology, I was not a fan of it because I had never thought of faith in that way. It was always very Eurocentric, because that is what I was raised up in. But I'm really thankful to God that I was called into theology to explore my identity as a Fijian, growing up in another country and understanding the identity that I carry between two different locations.
Yes, totokan din na Mariana, to hear your your pathway. How now I'm sure when you look back, you realize that you have your own choice of what you wanted to do, but then things happen along the way, and look at where you are now. Yeah. So
Definitely.
in terms of working in this space, do you enjoy doing this kind of work, Mariana?
I really fell in love with the study of theology because it opened up my mind, and it opened up my thinking in terms of what the possibilities are.
Hmm.
I often thought that religion was just being obedient to what the traditions are, what the teachings are, rather than it being a vehicle where you can discover yourself, discover your history, your identity, and your faith. So it is definitely something that I enjoy, and it has informed uh, the the main part of the last decade of my life, and most definitely in my work with Rocco and the Vunilagi Book Club, the way that it has started. I've always said this, that Vunilagi Book Club is, yes, we are the hands and feet that do the work, but this was something that I never imagined that we would be doing. And I really feel and believe that it was a mission that God had sent myself to Fiji to begin, but then brought the right people to make it a reality. And I believe that the reason that Vunilangi Book Club began is because there was a need for the children, and there was a need for us to pay attention to the children. Um, especially children from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, from settlement communities, from rural communities, those who don't have the resources or the support or maybe the family unit to be there for them. I really believe that the last 8 years of our operating has answered that call and has brought the right people to work together as a team and provide a safe space where children not only read and access books, but where they are welcomed and they are valued and treated with so much dignity. And that is why people like Rocco and our other team members are such an asset to the work that we do, because we are not there to publicize ourselves or to sort of have our own agendas, but we are there to serve, and that is something that continues to inform and mobilize the work that is being done in Nanuku and other communities.
Mariana. It's really encouraging, to see someone, very passionate about, the work that you do, and you're a role model, I'm sure, to many, young girls who may be looking at, what pathway that they want to take. So this will be very encouraging, yeah, for many parents that are listening tonight or this evening, for many of our young ones wanting to choose a pathway or a career. Theology definitely is a choice that is out there. If anyone is interested, I'm sure, please do reach out to Mariana, and I'm sure and certain that she will be, glad to share, the journey that she followed decades ago. So, Mariana, take us back to 2017 when you set foot in Fiji. I'm sure after a while of living in Australia, and then for the scoping work, were you expecting what you saw way back in 2017?
I think entering into a community like Nanuku, my privileges living here in Australia were very much confronted. I I think walking around the community with Sivo and Rocco, I was just shocked by what I was seeing. Uh, I had heard many stories before entering and many warnings, just in terms of some of the activities that happen in there. But I think I was very ignorant of the realities on the ground. And so I had to be open to the differences that I was coming across and also be attuned to what the Holy Spirit was saying to me, because there were parts of me that wanted to absolutely just to run in the opposite direction and do something totally different, because I felt that I had worked myself up to a particular level, and then here I was going into a community that I wasn't used to. But I would have to say that Nanuku settlement has been one of the best classrooms for someone like me. I came from an academic background, and I could not have learned what I learned in Nanuku and through the work with Vunilagi Book Club had I remained in my very plush libraries and classrooms. And so even though it was uh, difficult at times, in terms of getting used to the area and the context, but it taught me so much about myself, my country, the community, and working with people like Rocco, Akanisi, and Sivo, and others in the community. I realized that I didn't know as much as I thought I did, and that I felt that God had brought me back home so that I could understand that these are the realities, and how does your faith, how will your faith inform what you do in a place like Nanuku? It's it challenged me and confronted me with the question of what will you do here? How can you serve? How can you make a difference? One of the biggest lessons that I learned was the late Dr. Richard Waugh. He was a very fiery and dynamic um, church leader, and Rocco's laughing because she knows she knows him very well. He used to challenge me and call me out on the fact that here I was coming from Australia into Fiji, and what could I possibly know about the realities in Fiji? And in the beginning, I really didn't like it because he kept questioning my motives, what I was doing there. Did I think that I was bringing something worth sharing? And by the end of my year in 2017, I realized no, he was right. Um, I had so much to learn. There was so much growth that had to take place. And working in a community like Nanuku and connecting with the people like there, like Rocco and her family, it really humbled me, and it taught me that knowledge and information is nothing if it cannot be transformed into action that serves others. And for me, that is what Christianity is. It's not sitting up in our big churches and wearing our beautiful clothes and worshiping and singing our beautiful songs, but it is getting out there just like Christ did and getting your hands dirty, getting your hands and your feet dirty, walking in places that you probably wouldn't have chosen to walk, meeting people or being confronted by people who are really struggling in life, coming across children who may not have the best opportunities. And that is something that, for me, when I look at Rocco and see how much she has grown and developed over the last 8 years of working together, and seeing how her faith informs her commitment and dedication to the children in Nanuku, that is what church looks like for me, is that when we take our faith, our beliefs, our biblical knowledge and teachings and understandings, and we are able to turn it into action, um, not for our own selves, but to serve the wider community, and especially those who are most vulnerable and marginalized.
So, Vinakasarangavalib Mariana for reminding us about what true Christianity should be like. Yeah, I think you've just shared the importance of action. Speaks louder than words, and you're absolutely right. Yeah, that what we do is something that creates change. It's transformational. Yeah. So, do you think now, looking back, must have been a huge change for you personally as an individual, Mariana?
Absolutely. I I've been you sometimes come into this work thinking that you are bringing something.
Mm.
And God knows our hearts, and I know that God knew my heart in terms of here I was coming from overseas back to my country, and I've got this and that to offer in these communities, in these churches. And God just turned that totally upside down. And I realized very quickly that no, you are here to learn. I have been transformed by the work, by the people that I work with, the team, the wonderful team that we have at Vunilagi. We put up great pictures, some of which you'll be sharing tonight,
Mm.
but the hard work in the background, Rocco's laughing, but it's true. We might put up smiling faces, the children are happy. That's what we want. We want the children to be happy, to feel safe and welcome. But the work is hard. It is blood, sweat, and tears. It is having to remain committed and dedicated even when it hurts, even when people don't care, or when people say things. For us, we've always been very clear about that vision that no matter what challenges come our way. We are committed to this cause, and I think 8 years of this work has proven that. And at the end of the day, we are here to serve the children. And I'm sure Rocco will share this later, but when you invest in children, no matter what background they come from, no matter what behavioral issues that they have, when you serve them, when you are dedicated to them, it transforms them as well. We've seen changes in the behavior of the children. When they are not looked at as a burden or as troublesome. We've had some children come in and they cause problems or trouble within the setting. But when they see that the people in there are safe, that you will be taught what is acceptable and what is not, but it's done when the teaching is done in a loving way, in a way where the child understands the person talking to me right now cares about me. It can transform their behavior as well. And I can say there are many examples that where Rocco has talked about the changes that she sees in the children within the community. And it's one thing for us, those of us who volunteer, we go in once every fortnight. But for Akanisi and Rocco, they're from the community. They've taken ownership of Vunilagi. And that is why it has the influence and the impact that it has had over the last 8 years, because they are there on a day-to-day basis, being safe people, safe homes for these children to go to when they're in need.
Wow, nakabalevo Mariana. Rocco, similar to what Mariana was explaining, how do you feel looking back for the beginning of that, 8 years ago, when Akanisi was in the picture, Mariana is, fresh from Australia, and there was this work that has to be done. Now that you look back, how do you feel now, Rocco? By seeing the work that has been done through Vunilagi?
Vinaka Dr. T, I believe that it's been hard, like it's been really hard along the way, and it was never easy. But I believe that one thing that I believe that really worked for us was our teamwork. Like we stayed together, and no one gave up. Like no one dropped out, or no one said, that's enough. We can't do it anymore. I and I'm so thankful to the team, like everyone, not just the volunteers, but those who have like helped us along the way, like for coming in and just giving a hand, especially to all the volunteers, like volunteers and all the children who read with us during COVID. Like it wasn't easy work, but who knew that 8 years we're still going on, and yes. So yes, from the first time there was like we didn't know that it would end up like this, but we kept on working, um, session after session. Sometimes things that we expected didn't turn out the way it's supposed to be, but then we tried, like we came up with solutions and said, let's do this, let's keep on going. No volunteers or volunteers, let's like let's make use of our children, while they are learning with us, while they are with us. Like why don't we use them, like why don't why should we just stop the work that we're doing rather than finding others to come in? Let's just use what we have, and we will see what happens in the next step.
Wow, Rocco. And I know you're going to be sharing some really good case studies, yeah? After this, we'll be happy to share some photos. So for many of you who are listening, please stay connected, because Rocco and Mariana will be sharing some amazing real stories from Nanuku settlement in Batuanga. So for you, Mariana, I have two questions very quickly. I was just very curious. One, why Vunilagi? Why did you use that as the name for the book club? And number two, of many things you would have chosen to do as part of your project as a result of this coping work that you did back then, why was literacy chosen as the main part of your work?
Thank you, Dr. Teresi. So the name Vunilagi actually came from a conversation with my sisters. I had returned to Australia in 2017 at the end of September, and I had come back, and to be quite honest with you, the doors were just opened for me here. There were offers of scholarships, of homes, of jobs, really good paying jobs. And even though this was sort of handed over to me on a silver platter, it's just something in my heart just kept on saying, no, you're supposed to go back to Fiji. I didn't understand why, because my time in Fiji in 2017 was on a personal level a very challenging one. And so I didn't really want to come back home. But there was this real unction in my heart that just kept on saying, you must go home, you must go back. So by October, November of that year, I came up with, I thought back, okay, if I go back, what would I do? And Nanuku came up in my mind, and I thought, what would I do in Nanuku? And I remember when Rocco Vakatawa and I were walking through those 7 weeks. One of the things that I noticed in the community was that there were so many children, many of them not at school, wandering around the communities. But even though there were so many children, I did not see a children's book in the homes that we went into. And so when I was here, I thought, what if I start a book club? I've never started a book club. I have no experience in that. But I thought maybe if I go back, I can start a book club and make some really great children's literature accessible for the children there. I just came up with a simple program in my mind. And then I thought, what would I call it? So I was thinking, I came up with all these English names, and it was like, no. So I called my sisters who were here in Melbourne. I was in Sydney at that time, and they had a Fijian dictionary. And I asked them, you need to find me a Fijian word for my book club. I'm going to go back to Fiji and start a book club. And so they started going through the letters of the alphabet in the Fijian dictionary. They came up with so many fantastic names for the book club. And every time I would say, no, that's not the one. And they began to be frustrated because, I kept on saying no to them. And I told them, when I hear the word, when I hear the word that the book club is meant to be named after, I will know it. So just keep on giving me the words. And so obviously the letter V, they had gotten to the letter V, and I think it was my youngest sister. She said, "Oh, what about Vunilagi?" And I said, "That's it. What does Vunilangi mean?" And she said, "Oh, it means horizon." And I said, that is the name of the book club. And for me, when one, I loved the name Vunilangi, but when I heard the meaning that one of its meaning, because there are different meanings to the word Vunilangi, but that one of the meanings was the word was horizon, it was very clear to me that this book club was looking into the future, um, and for these children who would grow up and become the future. And so it's Vunilangi Book Club looks out onto the horizon and sees what we need to do today to develop and form young readers for the future. I decided on a book club because I was an avid reader myself as a child. I loved books. It was an escape for me in many ways, being an immigrant child in a new country. I came not knowing the language, and I had to learn it very quickly in order to survive. And one of the things that happened was that I was very good at English, at the English language. And so it consumed me, and I loved libraries and reading and books. And I thought, if I loved it that much, why can't the children in Nanuku have the same accessibility to these resources that I had? Why is it just because they have been born and they are in a community that is under-resourced, underserved? Why should they not have the same opportunity that I had? And so that was my answer to the call. Make books accessible for children, help them understand that that this is something that is valuable, that can build them up for the future. And I was very blessed in that Dr. Richard allowed for the book club to begin in 2018 and asked Rocco and Akanisi to support. And Rocco and her sister Akanisi have been there from the very beginning. Rocco knows this. Our first reading session was a bit of a failure. It didn't go too well in terms of the children came and Rocco and we all went in there and I was reading to the children and doing my voices and being really excited about the books, and the children just sat there staring at me. And you could hear a pin drop in the room because it was something new for them. It was something that had not occurred. So of course they're going to be looking at whoever's reading with a strange look, like, why are you reading like that? Why does your accent sound strange? So when we had that first reading session, it didn't go according to plan. I thought that the children would just love it and it would be great. And so after the first reading session, I was told by someone from the community, look, this book club is great. It's great that you've brought these new books, because I had sourced them from my community here in Australia. Really fantastic books. And she said to me, these books are great, but the children are not interested. Are you sure this is the right community? Maybe you can think of another community to go to, because I don't think that Nanuku is a place that will value this kind of activity. And I remember just standing in front of her and just thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I've given up everything back in Australia to come and start this book club. And it's our first reading session and it's flopped, it's failed. And it's obvious that it kind of failed. The children were not that interested. And here I have someone from the community advising, it's probably best that you take this elsewhere. So I begged her, I really begged, just please give us just a couple more months. I promise, like, once the children see that, that this is something that is good, that it can be exciting. If it doesn't work out after a couple of months, then okay, we can take it elsewhere, but just let us try. And within a few months, the children were coming in and they were attending the reading sessions. And I think one of the key things that helped us achieve that is that we had two women from the community doing the work with us. It wasn't like that we went away and then we appeared again. No, the Rocco and Akanisi's presence in the community allowed that bridge to occur between the team and the children. And that is how Vunilagi began to steamroll in 2018. And of course, one of the groups that came in through a meeting through seeing what we were doing at Vunilagi was graduate women of Fiji, who then they came and consulted, came and asked a few questions, and then they were able to work with Rocco in terms of setting up meetings so that scholarships could be offered to the women in the community. So for me, Vunilagi through the work with the children has allowed for opportunities and the opening of doors to the adults in the community. And as you know, both Rocco and Akanisi have done exceptionally well in their education, one going for her degree now, one for her diploma. All of this from this yes that we had said to one another, to let's work for the children. A lot of the programs that come in focus on the adults, focus on older people, but the children are left there. You know, if we commit ourselves to the children, then other doors will open. And I think that's exactly what has happened in Nanuku over the years.
So, Mariana, thank you for being open to say that the first session was a flop. Rocco, what was it like from your perspective? So you can hear it from Mariana, and she was very open and honest about it. She would have packed her bags, flew back to Melbourne. But you, Rocco, you live there. What was your view on that particular day?
Binaka Dr. T. So, sorry, I didn't know. Like, I thought, okay, since Mariana came up with our idea, like, why don't we just try? Because we've been living in Nanuku and never before has anyone come up with that idea of books. Like there has been so many like organizations have come in and they've tried to set up, with women, with youth, with young boys, but nothing about children. So I thought, okay, if Mariana, like if Mariana is studying this, why don't I just, like step in and just support her? No, maybe it will work out or maybe it won't. Let's just give it a try. And but I wouldn't say that I doubted. I just felt like I had to support her, and I felt like it was a great idea from the start, and that if we gave it a try, and we will have to see, like as we go along the way, what will happen. But it was never a doubt. It was just let's just do it anyway, and let's see what will happen in the future. Yes, so that was from me, Dr. T.
And Mariana, you've just mentioned about now, Rocco, you are pursuing your diploma. And then is it Akanisi who's doing her degree? Wow. So I'm just thinking, if this book club didn't eventuate back then, would that have happened? Have you thought about that, Rocco?
Thank you, Dr. T. Yes, that is, I would agree to that. I don't think that I would ever come this far if it wasn't for the Vunilagi Book Club, if it wasn't for the open doors or the great opportunities that the book club has brought, not only for the children, but for myself and Akanisi. Thank you.
Yeah, nakabali Rocco. And then Mariana, you also alluded to the fact that the Fiji Women's Graduate Network came, and now the book club, which was meant for the children, is also benefiting the mothers. What was going on in your mind when you start to see that this book club is impacting the children, but now the mothers are in the picture too?
I think that was just a natural progression, that if the children are being catered to and served, that the opportunities for the women would also, come around. Rocco and Akanisi have done exceptionally well and remain committed to their education, undergraduate women of Fiji, and have continued with their education. But for me, I think it showed me that if you are able, that you cannot just focus on women alone. Yes, when you empower women, so many changes can happen, but as mothers, women just have that ability to be connected to their children and to see what opportunities can come by in order for them to survive and to make a better life for themselves. And I think case in point is Rocco. In terms of just how much she develops. I know I keep on referring back to Rocco, but she herself is a case study in terms of this work, because she came up with many challenges in her life, And even though we met at a time where she was a young mom, just looking after her family and living there in Nanuku, but I feel that that with Roko, it was almost like um, an untapped diamond, like a something that when we first met, perhaps I didn't really notice, but as time went by, I realized, oh, actually, this young woman is not only strong to come through what she has, but her persistence and her willingness to learn, to grow, to develop, to not be stifled by what other people say or by her history, but to move forward. And that's something that has inspired not only me, but everyone in the team, because who Roko is today as an educator, as a member of Vunilagi, she's worked really hard at that, and it's something we continue to be very proud of.
Thank you so much, Mariana, for taking us back in time, and from a very small seed that you planted back then. Look at what has opened up, in front of us, and many of us, I'm sure, during COVID. Now I'm just looking through the photos, and I've seen that many were invited to do the reading, and I just saw some of my pictures too for reading as well. What came to your mind when the COVID-19 hit and you knew that you had some work to do to keep our children motivated during the lockdown? We'll start with you, Marianne, and then we'll go over to Rocco.
Yes, so in the lead up to COVID, something that had begun to happen was that we had many volunteers from around the world begin to attend our sessions. We're talking about Africa, Asia, Europe. They would come in through the church programs. They would read. There was one particular young man from the Solomon Islands who took a Dr. Zeus book, Green Eggs and Ham, and he turned it into a rap song, which especially the boys, they just absolutely loved. So there was a lot of creativity, and there continues to be a lot of creativity around literacy. So it's not so for us, it wasn't just about, okay, let's sit down and read a book. It was, how can we make reading exciting for the child? How can we give the child the freedom to pick their books, what they like, what they don't like? So those were some of the things that we were learning at that time. You'll see now on your screen, and Dr. T, I believe that there are a few other pictures where it has the Vunilagi sign on it. When COVID happened, we were no longer allowed to move into the community as we did. So we thought, oh, what are we going to do now? And something about Vunilangi that I'm very proud of is that the innovation, because it hasn't been done before, we had no choice but to innovate. So during that time, lockdowns had happened. We came up with the idea, what if we used social media to provide the reading sessions? In that way, children can tune in to stories that are being read, but it also gives the opportunity for the children to read themselves. So we started off with the children, our members in Nanuku, but we were very blessed that we were able to invite and have children from around the country read. So we would come up with a schedule, and the children would read. Rocco was reading, Auntie Pearl was reading. So even the volunteers got in and started reading. And then we realized, hang on, why don't we just open it up for our Fijian community from wherever they are in the country, in the community, or in the world, to come in and to read a book. That's when we started inviting children and readers. We had many Fijians, local Fijians, as well as Fijians from the diaspora, who then participated in their reading sessions. So you'll see this is a young girl from, she is located in England, reading a beautiful book. And so, you know, even the selection of books that were being read, many times they're done with intention. How can these books teach us about respect, about love, about community? And so even the children and the adults from overseas were being very intentional about the books that they wanted to share with the wider community. And that's how we survived through COVID, is we read online, but then there was also still a lot of work being done in community where donations that were being given to us, Rocco was our lady on the ground. We had many generous donors during the lockdowns when parents were no longer working and so forth. They would deliver donations to Nanuku. And something that I absolutely love and treasure about our team is the the trust that has been built over the last 7 to 8 years. We know that when a donation comes through and it is delivered to the community, that donation is going to be honestly handed out. And Rocco will never say this about herself, but most of the times when donations would come in, the entire donation would be handed out to the community, and very little, if anything, Rocco would keep for herself, even when she had needs. And that just goes to show, I think, the spirit and the character of the people in our team. There is that sense of selflessness and generosity that is evident in the way that we work. And it really showed during COVID. Once borders opened and people were able to work, many children their parents couldn't afford lunches. And so we organized fundraisers to purchase food every weekend. The money would come in, it would be transferred over, organized for that week so that 30 to 35 children could go to school and have something to eat. Lunch boxes would be washed at times. And like I said at the beginning of this interview, we put up the great photos and the happy children, but our journey so far has been full of many challenges, but I think that has helped us to be stronger and to remain committed to the cause.
Mariana. And for you, Rocco, during the lockdown, and especially for you living there, you living with the children, what was the reaction from the children on the ground when they were, part of this reading program?
So yes, think the children felt, think they were happier, I would say, especially during this lockdown season, because they had people who would help them, like even though they were not in school, but the Vunilagi Book Club team was there to support them through their homework or whatever needs that they had. They always know that there's always the team behind them. And I felt that then it showed that the interest for the books really came up. That was when they, like they came home, they took the books, and then we had the resources that we used, that the children also took part, were able to be blessed with. And yes, and I believe overall during the COVID season, for the children here at the Vunilagi Book Club, I would say that they were really blessed, because they still had the opportunity to learn, and also, like Mariana said, also get the nutritious food that they were able to live as like normally as other children would.
Man, I'm just enjoying looking through these photos and seeing the impact of what started off as a very small idea from you, Mariana, and looking at the impact that it has made, not only on the children that we're looking at right now, but I'm sure with the whole family. So, Mariana, what has been some feedback that has been coming from the parents and the children back to you and the team?
I think Rocco would be best to give that feedback.
Right.
I will say this.
Mm.
Having the book club, one of the things that we have learned and realized is even though it's a fantastic program for the children and they really love it, they bring themselves in. Even when Vunilagi is not having a reading session, they're at Rocco's house. They know where the safe places are. But I think something that we may struggle with as a society, perhaps even culturally, because we have more of an oral tradition amongst our Fijian culture. So reading as such may not be seen as as great a value as it should be. And when you're talking about communities like Nanuku, where there are real struggles happening in there, when poverty is in place, people are just on survival. So a a book, a reading book club, that is not going to put food on the table. And people they are living day to day. And so while one of the biggest struggles that we have is the involvement of parents the door is always open for them to come in. But at the same time, we understand that for many parents, they're just trying to feed their children every day. For other parents, they might not have the confidence. They may have, whatever their background in, they might not have the confidence to come in and to read a book with a child. There may even be adults and parents who are not literate. And so that's something that we've had to understand over the years. It does make our job harder in that anyone who works with children we need to have the parents' involvement for it to powerfully impact the child. But at the same time, there has been this sensitivity and understanding that you cannot just make those demands when people are facing real struggles every day and just trying to survive, and trying to keep their children fed and going to school. And so that is something that I would say has been a challenge for us. But at the same time, we have come across parents, grandparents, as Rocco will share soon, who have been supportive, who've been present and accompany their children to these reading sessions. And I will also just make a comment here that there are parents outside of Nanuku who have brought their children in to read. And so we know that there are committed parents who want the best for their children, but they just might not have the opportunities and the resources to afford one-to-one tutoring, which is often needed when you're talking about rescue reading. A child who has gone through primary school, gotten to grade 5 and 6, and they do not know their phonics or how to read sentences. So we recognize that many parents, they really try, they want the best for their children, but due to the situations they're in, they just don't have the access or the resources to provide their children with the best that they can.
Mariana, Rocco, would you like to add anything to what Mariana shared?
Thank you, Mari, for that. So, Dr. T, I'll just start, like as your question said, about the feedbacks from parents.
Yeah.
So, kenda na senga ni bili takatik ngana tumbu-tumbu tok teti non rala ko mai kena non senga ni la ko mai na bakatau sartu ngabira darar itu kuna ni sombe kana tumbu-tumbu raseng ni buli binaka erna mandua takatik ni non rana ngole mai erna kana sendron mai bosata kana na Talanoa posa senga ni minon razala ya toteti nugu baka sama nga na nugu ngolit yung may na baka kitu takabetiko na buku ni bili bola endo nga na kauro ni rete kya na bili bola ngo senga ni taru bibona dona tamata endo la kere bana tumbu-tumbu ngone leilai me aka matanga erna sangge ngasi piko erro ni ngole kede mai kitu sindo nango na mesembu wakalisu indo nango ni me tukuni biko ni senga ni durma ya na ni tu bili bola seo irnando lako matanga me tumba merang ngole me tumba mera sanga mera lako mai do kerenga ke ngole tukumi nango ni mero ngole patetik ngamin do ni tumbu-tumbu membale tangana non rata ngoma kiti nango ni senga ni taru bin dona tamata sen dona dotale maina wakambauta mera ngole maina nitu book club ya membaleta na birna tumbu-tumbu kio salak me soer tutu ba bimbi bertuna basu do rongo di sarmike na bagali na tu nando monrtue bakang bimbi ngertutu kun sa kilana ngone na bili bola sa kila may bana senga sarnga ni kilana bili bola may bana bili karawen dona dombe kana ya tu bosa se sarom dengan itu na matana lewe me rauni bosa beir nona itamba pataki may beir na ngone bakata kira teti dona ka kiture dana book club ni bisa usara nangone kitong giti kubukina so nangona iram tangano ne rasin raw saranga ni rabosa me menda virei mata ra toka ngaran tambe toka ngara dan numo saranga dokter tini rasin rani posa raw tiko yo era rere tiko ngai de na sombe kana bosa erna to na Selatan gay dumru bira yani sendra kunen ni seng ni dundun beka yo ndonga na kaki tundu bang kitirkin no na lomani book club ni seng ni ndona sonita ro edala seng ni ndona sonita ro tukuna mendona ngone na tala baka bonga kesama ni tukuna mai etiko patamai na kena baka matala yo air ni visu takabakan dona tuba kini ya tubo sembi maya akan balik tingat dokter ti yang abi kenda na tambusa kay na tumbu-tumbu se kenda na bilyu takiti ko mabibir nang gas ni buli mendando sobi ken sanda do rete tungana ngoni mesa kela sa besar sumbu tungana ngoni yo bukan botamai dokter ti menanunggu takata kenda takabun au sa lakutik menalom ni bukla but kena nunggu rejir tik nangoni sobi rer sangan rebang na lolo mai mera loma ni ngatok teki metu kuning abi ni kela na esengan indona kela esengan indona o betu kunang bekan esengan indona saunitaro na sulimai wa indona ngone mena tu weekend pambimbi mendanga weekend na wingkara bitiko menda tukuna ni bana ngone ni ai sengan indon kla daro ni tukuna ni biko indona paka matal pero ni kilana ngone ni na saunitaro ni bitamai kela esa abo bolek satu kene bana saunitaro ya kela kombek ngaya dokter ti sonongona na mata ini ngona nda bosen bikin na bir no ngone bakar ndurere salah pelakana ngona dokter ti sawa kaya rasangai klasangai sa tandolo me na non rabaka sama patake na bi bos ta tukune tiko bir na ena bingu na pambimbi na volunteer do la kumai do keringa pa pambimbi me erna ngone nda kuangan indo tarungira na sona taro kla na esengani birau-rau may kanibuli nembala tanga na ibola ya no personal question ba kaurin tukuna dokter tie me kuni batani kenda senga dikilana nabika ela ko duru muti benda nangoni raunin dende benda sartunga mai dokte tio ena mda kunin dendre ya na kenda senga nikela bikitu mendengar bingkarabi dole besar na bibi sa kitu reta yo roro mai vai ver na tumbu patakir na ngone dokte tio lo resar bakali na bisa we boya mendengar bisa nang gasti wuli sandu tu no mai na buno ni rabing karabi tikina nisa rababin binak tu mendengar mai nisa ambula katuso na kamera ni bukir tu kina nangone kan bali dokte tie senga ni kaisar meli rawat sar na mate ni dodo binangone maina nona kilangan nangone ya na buno sar nga sa tik sar nga kina tikini ngauna sar nga ya taka tikina na nona leso ni se wili bola tikina e kila tiko ko ni kila na bika kele na tukuna mai na lingo mi ko ya ro e vinga rabiti ko bua ambe kanga dokte ti mai bana nomunitar starong ti mai binaka
sa binaka vale besar rokwe don tira na eka binaka wase chuk minggu re taba bini binaka be na tumbu sabi to ko ni chuk mai na buku ni nonra mai wili politiko na ngone na Vunilangi book club sabi ko bikim ni sa kay siya chuk minggu ngoro mai bulan itiko o Mariana Waqa siya masar chuk mai Malvani mai Australia batake Rogoiga Soweri siya mati ko may ibatuang kay nanuko na puno sarangan de bitang mata kina na puno itiko kina na book club ngo totoo ba ka ti roko bat kay Mariana nung robi wasi itiko may iya ngo already Dr. Nick ni tambit ngo Mariana, how did you get all these volunteers? He's a professor at the University of the South Pacific.
Vinaka, Dr. Tarisi. Yes, we've always had a very small team, but a very capable one and a committed one. Nick he was there also from the beginning. I think the second or third reading session he attended, and he's been there ever since. He's an Australian and a lecturer in history. But we actually met in 2017. There was a Fiji History Club, and we became friends. When I shared with him this idea about the book club, Nick was very enthusiastic. One of the things that he had shared with me during our conversations in the early days was that sometimes even at tertiary level, there are students who come in and they struggle with reading and writing, reading comprehension and writing, even at that level. And we had started Vunilagi in 2018, so the way that students were just being passed from one year level to the next, that has been the custom now in Fiji. I'm not sure if that still happens today, but back in 2018, 2019, the early years, that's what happened. Children are moving through primary school. Whether they read, whether they comprehend or not, they move on to the next class. So it's not a surprise that when a student gets to tertiary level, that they are finding ways to just write their essays. Of course, now we have ChatGPT and AI. So, if a student is not reading at their age level or at the level of education that they need to be, there are now tools to write those out for you. So for us, the need to begin early to help parents understand that you cannot punish a child who is not doing well at school or not listening in the classroom if that child does not have the capacity to understand what is being written up on the board or written in the books. We talk about misbehavior in schools, and I know that there's a lot of conversation around the need for corporal punishment happening in Fiji over the last few weeks. But I wonder if there is any consideration when we are talking about children's behaviors in primary school, in high school, as to whether those children who are misbehaving, what are their backgrounds? What are their family histories? Can they read? Do they understand what the teacher is teaching at the front? Or are they being a distraction to their fellow students because they are bored, because they cannot do the work that they are being asked to do? And, on one hand, yes, we can say it's the child's fault. The child is being disobedient, not listening, not studying at home. But on the other hand, it can also be that the child has not had the foundations to be able to sit in a classroom and to comprehend what is written in their books, in their tests, in their exams, and what the teacher is explaining at the board. I say that acknowledging that teachers have a very challenging job, especially when they have classrooms that are up to 30, 40, 50 children. And so that's very difficult for one person to be handling all those children. But at the same time, we need to question, so what is at fault here? Is it the children and their behaviors, or is it the system? And do we need to figure out a way where the teachers feel supported, but that the backgrounds of these children and their capacity for literacy and numeracy is at the level that it needs to be at whatever grade they are in? I think we are not thinking deep enough. We keep on playing the blame game. And because children are children, and in our culture, children are often seen and not heard, the blame often goes to them, because how are they going to protest and speak, defend themselves? They can't. And so there needs to be more robust conversations around this, because the reality is there are many children who are going through primary and high school who are not at the literacy levels that they need to be. How do we respond to that rather than just blame and punish? How do we reflect on what kind of a society we are raising our children in? And rather than just looking at the behaviors which are a result of other things that may be going on in the child's life. So that is, I think that is something that needs to be considered. I know you talked about Nick, but it reminded me about this conversation that he and I had about tertiary students not reading at the capacity that they should be at times in university. And that's through no fault of their own. They have survived the system. They have gotten through in whatever way they could to get to university and to try and graduate. So there really needs to be robust conversations around how we support children from primary all the way to tertiary to ensure that they are reading at their levels, because what reading does, it gives you the independence to obtain information. If you cannot obtain information by yourself, then you are attuned to what everybody else says around you. You will hear what someone says and take that as fact, rather than have the ability to go and research for yourself. And that is what we try and do with the children at Vunilagi, is to help them understand reading is like a superpower. If you know how to read, if you can pick up books and you can enjoy reading them, when you are older, this can take you a very long way. And another thing in terms of reading is that whether a child grows up and becomes an academic, a business person, a farmer, a fisherman, reading is necessary in all of those jobs, and that's what we want. We want a society, we want a future where even if someone is out there farming and being successful as a farmer, that person is well read. That person can go out there and think independently and do research that will help him or her with their farming or, agricultural activities.
Man, Mariana, for allowing us to see the power of reading, eh? Because even in numeracy, you need reading, eh? in terms of, reading the problem, for you to solve. That's something that always, stay in my mind, because in our family, Mr. Bunindilo is a school teacher, and he teaches maths and computer science and all the science subjects. And that's something that we often talk about at home, the importance of knowing how to read. Because, sometimes we're thinking, oh, they just count, or they just, do all the numeracy. But for you to get there, you need the reading skills. Rocco, what do you think about that?
Vinaka ti sorando tungana tungai sabi po sa nga babalang Sandu via kaina kalam do po sa babalang. Iyo it's really important that we know English. Like it's really important, especially when you're going to school, because for other subjects, for you to actually pass other subjects, you need to do English. Otherwise, because the teacher won't be able to be, during an exam, the teacher won't be able to read to you. Like you are given the paper, you sit down, and it's shocking that after when we come and read to our children, Dr. T, they actually know the answer. But the problem is they don't know how to read it. And that's the truth. If only they know how to read it, then I believe they'll get the high scores in all the subjects. Just because they are having problem with English, the other subject seems to be affected at the same time. Kanambal-bal Dr. T, sandun doon nga, menda sabos mo nga bakabalay niya. Sanda ambita ti kumandangain doon na kami doon na nonta plan, menda sa sangasar nga, na lupente, may rabi na kamandangan na English, na subject na English. Balata ni kesa siya nga sana ira kita na puni makasana sana laksar nga ira iyo na nanguna talaga merang gay bibo sa kikina kila na balata ni dangoli kurul sa lib nga nanguna sa datung menda bos matanga papalain English should always be balata ni ralibu tala na ngonera may na bimating tuiso era tiko talaga anda tiko maliwira year nandu ikay iyo menara weekend menda na wasan wira bakanonda oklana bienrendre toka ko ngone ando keretik nga kin menda sa was cuma ngen pakabalang balat me dangay ngole ni kornibuli se na bibuno nga tangole kina menda sa kilatok mandanga so na was sa babalang kese nga sa nandrendre sarang dokte tina enaraw ni ra kilana ngone may bendu ay wili kay ni beir na may bananon rasangaw merna sanga bakaira ersana rede tumbek nga pepa dokte ti sarna bakasam tak tumbek ka nada tumbek merna bola yo ke ando mbek ndambe to kaya sandra may wili ka beir na bosa ya au kilair na rawata saranga erna rawata na kair na baksangat yo ken bale abi ken tangana pambibi ken na tumbu be ir talangana ngone menda kuno detikin menda be buke pambibi berna sangani binakati na English nanondra na bosaya sena subject na English binaka
and I can also see like there's a point Mariana, you mentioned earlier in terms of the system the education system in Fiji, the English is compulsory, as we all know. But then another question I was trying to, that I included as part of our Talanoa, is to look at our indigenous languages, to encourage our children to also read in Fijian, our Indian students to read in Hindi, perhaps our Rotuman kids to read in Rotuman. Is there a problem with them balancing it, to know the English this side, but also knowing the indigenous language? Mariana, would you like to add to what Rocco has alluded to earlier, Vinak?
Sure. I think someone who's grown up in the diaspora community, someone who's grown up elsewhere, my experience has been a little different, where as I moved here as a young child and I had to survive, so I just embraced the English language and I actually excelled at it, quite natural as a young girl. But my mom was very adamant growing up that we were not to lose our language. And now as an adult, I really value that because when I was younger, because I had to survive in the schools here in Australia, I really disliked what that my mom was making us speak Fijian or speaking Fijian to us. And she had this rule at home that she would not respond to us if we asked her a question in English. And so we had to find the words to ask for something or to have a conversation. And I remember just rebelling and just not wanting to say anything. Whereas my sisters, my younger sisters, they embrace that and they're very fluent in Fijian today. So that is one of my regrets from childhood is that I rebelled against that. And even though I can understand Fijian fluently and read it fluently, my speech is obviously not as fluent. I think when it comes to literature and language, what Rocco is saying is quite true. In order to survive the system, you must know and be able to wield the English language. It is uh, the the main language, one of the main languages in the world. So we would deny our children accessibility if we do not provide support in the way that they learn English and the way that they use it. However, knowing your language and being fluent in it and being able to think in your own language, there is also a lot of power to that as well. Because the way that the language that you use to think and to speak also can influence your perspectives. So as an English speaking person, I can think a certain way. But when I think and I understand the way that the Fijian language moves, it's a different world perspective. One is not better than the other, but it's important that we understand, like Rocco said, we need it for the children to get through school, but also to value our indigenous language or the Indo-Fijian, Ratuman, whatever second or third language a child might have. I have an auntie, my mum's older sister. She was a school teacher, and I actually lived with her when I was there in Fiji. She was able to teach her granddaughter how to read using the Fijian Bible. Her granddaughter was reading fluently in Fijian at the age of 4 years old, meaning that if the foundations of a child's reading habits are started from a young age and it is consistent, if that child is able to read the Bible in Fijian at 4 years old, the transition over to the English language when they get to class one, class two, will be much easier because the patterns and the rhythms, the sounds might vary here and there, but they understand more than a child who comes in not reading at all or not understanding their alphabet. So I think there is that time where if you are able to teach your child how to read or your grandchild how to read in whatever language is being used at home, then there may be easier transition into the English language once they go to school. Especially for Indigenous groups of people like ourselves around the world, preserving our languages, our dialects is super important. I hope that when these children who are part of our book clubs, even though they do have some exposure to some books that are written in vernacular, I hope that when they grow up and they're fluent and they're able to comprehend and read and write fluently, that they will turn back and see just how important their first language or their indigenous language is. So definitely there is a need to value both. And I think knowing your own language, it forms the identity of who you become. Something that my mum would always say while we were growing up here in Australia was, it doesn't matter how far away, where your feet take you all over the world, how far you are from Fiji, never forget where you came from. You must know your language. You must know your culture. You must know Naitovo, the way that we behave in our cultural settings. So that's something that I value now as an adult. But it has also, I think, it has also allowed me, given me permission to not just idealize our culture, to think, oh, everything's rosy about who we are as Fijians, but to challenge and question parts of our cultures and traditions that may not be, for lack of a better word, may not be something that works for us anymore. And that, like for me, one of those things is, how do we discipline children? Does what we did in the past, is that still going to work today, or do we need to come up with a new way of providing discipline for our children so that they are guided in a loving way without using violence or other ways of discipline? But those are necessary questions that we have to have. And I think in order to have those deep sort of conversations, you need to be able to think independently, think for yourself, and be able to do the research. And literacy is a part of that.
Mariana. I truly believe in that. In terms of reading, I also remembered my mom used to tell us that, if you read well, you can write well. See? So those two are connected. So I think for all of us parents who are listening in, dabukir saranganangon, to read whatever they can read. The more they read, the better it'll be for them. Na kanibina kay kornibulye, randa beda non rabita rongi, and a second in donaka, and rendre beira, babi ni binaksar kin balebu, be Mariana, but kay Rocco na non romay, waseti ko na be kami baleta na Vunilagi book club. Even now I want to join. To talk about, it's really, really inspiring. I've been reading the comments from some of our audience members, and you're most welcome to go in as well and reply and read some of the comments. Now, the other question I was going to ask both of you, maybe we'll start with Rocco. Where is the reading session take place? Where does it take place? I can see a chat behind you, Rocco.
Vinakadati nanguna sarangango e wakaidori tika na vuno wastige ni kinango na wili bola kona chati ko redi tiku mai ngori na erando wale mai vale na vuno wakati tiku kinango no guvalo irna ngone erando sangati meru wili bola ernando lenga tiku non wili bola se o iranga ngone songa ngone rabi alak tu mai meru mai damai tu damai Talanoa manda na Vunilagi book club pakai dor tiga nangonong ko na Dudley Indian Methodist Church senga sarnia o may bono tiko kina ya na Nuku Street Patuanga.
Yeah. And singata berdo da kinon really ball.
Vinakana Willy Bola ento pakai doriti ko nangonong ko sa tulti na buno ni Willy Bola Dr. Teresi pakai doriti ko Saint Christopher Home del kusha home vata kena nanuku ike nanuku orto wakaruru ketiko na ya na Vunilagi me bakasa bak madal takaucio Mariana bakaidore bakaru bakaidori na biru na madao bakaidori nanuku nangona senga ni bakaidori kene nanuku ndo bakaidori del kusha vata ke bakandua na otio ni madao na bibula ndo bakaidori na Saint Christopher Ro na iaua i Nanuku, 2 vi mama na iaua i St. Christopher, but kay indona vi mama na iaua i Delkusha.
Santina, totokon dina rokora no mo se chuku mai ai na puno sa ta kina na wili bola ai sa senga ni chuku na nuku sa chuku tale rotale na bonu ai verto na St. Christopher's Home kerto me del kusha bakatal nga kina na singa ta kina na wili bola. Yeah, Mariana, now that you know the Vunilagi Book Club is not just in Nanuku, now we've got the other branches. What is your vision for the future? Are you looking at having this to spread all across Fiji, or what do you have in mind?
Dr. T, this is a conversation that Rocco knows very well, that our team continues to deliberate on. We have one of the things that has helped us endure the last 8 years is we have a small but such a dedicated team of very different individuals from different backgrounds. But one of the things that I see as real valuable is that even though we are from different backgrounds, there is so much respect and trust between us as a team that we do deliberate on questions like this about where to from here. There is a particular member in our group. Her name is Kotongalo. She is currently in the US, so who knows, you might run into her. She's on a 4-month trip. I believe she's in Washington, D.C. And she's gone through the Pacific Young Leaders Network with the American Embassy. Part of the reason why she's there in the United States is because she is to develop a curriculum, a community curriculum around childhood literacy. We have been trying to develop, from all the learnings that we've had over the last 8 years, we want to see what has happened in Nanuku be duplicated in other communities. We have taken that first step by expanding out to 2 children's homes. And that's something I really love about the work that our team is doing there in Fiji, because again, these are children from vulnerable backgrounds. And here we are bringing in people who are safe, who are loving and caring. And, at the same time, moving into those spaces, we have very strong child protection policies to which we abide in terms of protecting the dignity of the children and ensuring we follow the rules to ensure that they're safe. You might notice on our Facebook pages that when it comes to the 2 homes, the faces of the children are not shown. And so we are very deliberate about those things. Whereas in Nanuku, because these children have grown up with us over the last 8 years, the parents, they give their permission for their children to be photographed, but at the same time, all photos go through a review to ensure that the children in the images are, sitting in a way that protects their dignity, that where they are not exposed in any way. And so we try very hard with that. In terms of the future, we would like to see this be available in all different communities. Vunilagi has donated over the last 7 to 8 years to about 15 different rural villages around Fiji. We partnered with Value City and PNG Books. They donated to us during COVID about 50 boxes of children's books, which we then donated around the country. One of them went up to Koromakawa in the highlands of Lambasa. But previous to that, we had also donated books to villages like Sorokomba. We had gone to Naivindamu in Tailevu North, and other villages around the country. I think with Vunilagi, what may make us different or set us apart is that when we entered into this children's literacy space, we didn't want to dominate. We didn't want to be the only, okay, we've come in, we're Vunilagi, and we're the only ones who can do this work. We understand that childhood literacy is bigger than just one group, one person, or one, I don't know, one government maybe. But we really need to learn how to share these spaces and encourage other groups, even if you are not Vunilangi, even if you in your village come up with a book club and you call it something that is linked to your village, linked to your community, we will be here cheering that on. We will support any initiative that provides safe and loving educational spaces for children. We haven't shared this on this interview yet, but one of the volunteers from the Marshall Islands used to attend Nanuku reading session back in 2018 and 19. She used to bring her 5-year-old daughter. She started Mosquito Book Club in the Marshall Islands in Majuro. So the main atoll in the Marshall Islands, Danity, started it up, and it's similar to Vunilangi in that it serves under privileged children. It provides access to books. I'm not sure if you have the pictures up there, but it would be the image of the Marshall Islanders. There's a father carrying his child, and there's a group picture and a picture of a child reading. But this is what we want to see for the future, that this space is not just dominated by Vunilangi, but that we are here to encourage others to do the same. Because at the end of the day, this is for the children. It's not for the founder of Vunilangi. It's not for the team that has been hard at work for the last 8 years. This is to serve the next generation and generations of children to come in Fiji. And hopefully, if this curriculum comes out successfully from our colleague in Washington, D.C., hopefully it is something that can move across the Pacific region so that generations of Pacific Island children to come are able to inform them, be well informed, have the capacity to research and to independently think rather than having people from bigger countries and more powerful economies come and tell us what to do. It's important that we are empowered, that we are able to transfer agency onto upcoming generations. And literacy is definitely one of those vehicles through which we can transfer knowledge, agency, and empowerment for future generations.
It is so beautiful, Mariana, and just so heartwarming, yeah, to see that where it started, with a very humble beginning, from again back to the seed. I love that analogy. The seed, the small idea that you had, and it all started with so much humility. Back in the day, 2017 and 18, meeting Rocco and Akanisi, and looking back 8 years, that's a long time. And I can see how the children have grown, those who have been part of the program. And I'm sure there has been some success stories. So maybe I'll start with you, Rocco. Out of all the success stories, because I know there are some, and which one stands out to you? And then I'll ask the same question to Marianne. I know it's going to be hard to choose. Which one, maybe, if I can say, which of the stories you want to share kind of moves your heart, to see that they might have struggled and then they kind of succeeded, at school, or they won an award or something like that, that kind of just gives some recognition to them.
Um, okay, Dr. T, I think one that would stand out for me, not just because there was an achievement, but also like it happened like for the first time. through the book club that we were able to partner with somebody that I know is quite a figure here in Fiji. So that will be getting a student to have a scholarship at one of the private schools here in Fiji. So the reason why I chose this out of the many was because he was just a boy attending our reading session, such a humble boy. We've watched him grown like at a really young age. And then having others that were able to partner with us, that enabled us to to finally reach the destination that the boy had actually reached. Not that he had completed it, but he was there. Like Vunilagi was blessed to have others partner along the way. So Mr. Bawa, Madam Fane Somaimbulu,
Yes.
and Patricia Naisara, who was the actual sponsor for the child. Not just Patricia, but also like the family. Like Patricia's family was so supportive towards this boy. I wouldn't mention his name, but I'll just say that he was able to go into, from John Wesley, he was able to go into Suva Christian community. Not just that, but he actually won awards at his first year of attendance, and grateful to Patricia and her family for always standing there, to Madam Fane Saumimbulu and Mr. Bawa for allowing myself and another woman in the community, Eleni, whom we had gone together that day to actually have a conversation, that who knew that we received an email saying that he was accepted in the school at Suva Christian community, and he won 3 awards at his first year. And then for me personally, because I didn't get that, I didn't get that opportunity, Dr. T, to actually reach that stage. It was like hard work paid off. Like I'd say it was hard work paid off, not just for me, but for the whole team, like for working hard and seeing that this boy was actually staying with the grandparents at that time. That he was, and no electricity in the community, Dr. T, and who knew that out of everything, he was the dux of John Wesley Primary School, and then further excelled into Suva Christian community. So I think the highlight of Vunilagi was, I think from that moment that he reached that stage, I think the rest of the children just flourished. Like we had ducks coming in from schools, and we had children like who were from not speaking a word to great orators, and we had like the young boys using instruments. Like not all children are the same, Dr. T. Some may not do well in school, but they are great artists, orators, and like they can actually dance or drawing, like when it comes to drawing of posters, or even Dr. T helping the volunteers, like becoming a volunteer during a reading session. I think I'm really grateful to be doing this work, and having the team to trust, having like parents to trust someone to actually look after their children, not just their children, but just talking to children and telling them that they are special just the way they are. Like you don't have to you don't have to be like other people. You just have to be yourself, but just do something. Just do something a little different. Like just take the step. We don't know where we're going, but just take it anyway.
And so heartwarming and so beautiful to hear your voice and the passion that you have, and remembering that you had a hand, in the success of that particular student. And I'm sure it's a lifelong, memory for that student. And I'm sure his family would have been so, so proud. So Nakabale Rocco for sharing that. And Mariana, what about you?
Rocco knows this quite well, that when I talk about the children, I often become very emotional. Uh, Over the years, it's just been such a privilege to see the the brilliance come out of them. And I I can't choose one because there have just been so many, but I think I can comment that in general, one of the things that I am so proud about the book club is that we have been very privileged to witness transformation through these children. Rocco has mentioned it a couple of times tonight. You will have a child come in for the first time, and that child will not say a word. That child can sit in a corner. We'd be lucky if that child picks a book up or engages with another child. And we learned over the years to allow the children to just be, not to force them, not to pressure them that they must, engage, but just allow them into that space to feel welcomed, to feel cherished. And I think that's something that our team excels in, is the ability to connect with the children, but to do it in a way where we understand that some of these children are coming from very hard backgrounds, but we allow them to be who they are as they first engage with us. And then over the coming reading sessions, we know that they will slowly gravitate towards a particular volunteer. A lot of the times it's Roko or Akanisi because they're from the community, so they're more comfortable with them. But I think for me, the success of the book club in Nanuku in particular is that it has allowed the children to come out of their shells. It's allowed them to see themselves perhaps for the first time as being valued, as bringing something worthwhile to the space that we're in, that that they are worth our time, that the work that happens in the background in preparation for these reading sessions, the engagement that takes place during the sessions, that this is all for them and that they are worth that. And so just seeing the children come out of their shells, there are members who did not read a word, and now they write speeches. We had a meeting earlier this year where four of the young girls came in and wrote their own speeches. And one of them, I was surprised when she first started talking because for a number of years, she silently attended our reading sessions. I would say hello to her and she would choke up because she couldn't even say the word bula or hello to me because she was so shy. It was painfully shy. And for her to sit up in our team meeting, which we invited these young girls to, and read a speech about what her experience has been, it brought us, some of us, to tears in that meeting because we can see that having a book club and a literacy program like this, it's not just about reading. Reading is the beginning. There are so many other things happening. There are other developments taking place. The confidence of these children to speak, to read, even to be able to pronounce a word, we celebrate that. And and that is something that continues to fuel the work that we do. That this isn't just you come in and we're forcing you to read. Besides Rocco, none of our Rocco and Nick, none of us have an education background. I think Rocco, Nick, and Louisa, they all have education backgrounds. The rest of us are just there because we had relationships with books and childhood literacy, and we understand the importance of it, and we want the children to experience that. And so I think seeing the children come out of their shells and use reading as a way to get to know themselves, to find confidence, to find friendship, kindness, and a place where they are valued by the adults that are facilitating, that is the biggest success for us when it comes to our reading sessions. But of course, we want to see more. We want to see our children, our members just succeed into their future, not only succeed, but flourish into good human beings. You know, it doesn't matter what background you come from, whether you had electricity in your home or you had running water that you had to get from a neighbor's house, whether you had shoes that had holes in them or you couldn't eat lunch at times when you went to school. What matters is that you are given access and resources so that you can make something of yourself. And that's what we want to see for the children from these communities. Just because they're growing up in a nuku, in a rural community, in a poor household, it doesn't mean that they are any less than any other child growing up there in Suva, in a well-to-do family or here in Australia. They are just as valuable. And that's the way that we treat these children, and we'll continue to do so because it's part of our ethos. So yeah, that's something that makes me really proud about being part of this amazing team and having the privilege, I keep using the word privilege, but the privilege to serve in this way.
Man, this is Vinaka Mariana, for sharing those beautiful thoughts and experiences. Um, and yeah, it's just so beautiful to see the impact of reading and the power that books can make in our lives. And there's so many parents, that are joining us tonight, and I'm sure there will be others who will watch the replay of our Talanoa. And I feel that this is just part one. There's so many more, part two, part three, part four. Sevada Morocco. We watch a movie, sometimes they say to be continued at the bottom. So I just feel that, what you both have shared today is so empowering on so many levels, talking about the children and the parents, especially the mothers, and also the other organizations that have come on board. The St. Christopher's Home and Del Kusha as well. And now you can see Vunilagi, impacting, other areas as well. And now, even in the Marshall Islands, it has that impact all across the Pacific. So on that note, I just wanted to say thank you to both of you for being with me tonight. But before we wrap up, is there anything else you want to share? I know that some of your board members may be listening, and there are so many volunteers who are listening as well that you would like to say thank you to. Maybe this is the opportunity for you to say a few words to them. So maybe we'll go to you, Rocco. If there's people in Nanuku or those that you want to acknowledge, and then we'll ask Mariana to wrap up for us tonight. Vinaka.
Vinaka Pakalevu, Dr. T. Wow, there's so many people to thank. Okay, so I'll just start with my A team, like the Vunilagi Book Club team. I think, like Mariana said, like we are all different. And yeah, I'd like to thank all the Vunilagi Book Club members, Nick, Valania, Akanisi, Madvi, Courtney, Pete, Luisa, Lisa, Pearl, Auntie Pearl, Koto, and of course Mari, for just for just working together, for doing the work silently, and for all the support that you continue to do for the children of Nanuku. It's been hard, it's been challenging, but look how far we've come. And to all the others who have given kind and donations, like International Secondary School, Value City for our books from the beginning, Solomon Island, and to all those some of those who help us, they want to remain anonymous. So to anyone who's watching this right now and who have supported us during our 8 years of journeying with us, Big Binaka Bakalevu, the YWAM team, thank you for always bringing volunteers, last minute volunteers, to Tower Insurance, and yes, to any individual or any child that has joined us along the way, Binaka Bakalevu, and not forgetting those who follow us. We have a lot of followers on Facebook, who always comment and share our stories and give us some feedbacks that it can be challenging, but it has built us, it has pushed us to be on the next level. And yes, to the children of Vunilagi Book Club, wherever they may be. I know that most of them have moved to other areas, and if you are watching this, please carry on that light. Always carry that light with you, and remember that you will always be part of the Vunilagi Book Club team, no matter how far you are. And continue to remember the things that we tell you, and never look down on yourself. Remember that if you were in Nanuku and you've moved out, remember to always look at the horizon, always remember the horizon. How far it's going to be, that's how far you can go. And yes, I believe, Dr. T, for those who have donated, I didn't mention, to Graduate Women of Fiji, thank you for always supporting not just me and Akanisi, but the women in the community through the Matua program. And the families, some families have really been with us long enough, and they've always there. Some reach out to us, and we've given help to them. And that is the only thing that we can do, help one another. I won't forget the Benga community, Vema, all the way in Benga. I won't forget Vani, all the way in Nailangamba, and Kaliova from Sorokomba. These are where we started off. These are the pioneers who have left a mark that it is possible to do this work in the other communities if we have someone who's willing to push ahead and give it a go. Also to Safira from the Nandonomai community. I think Safira was helping us along the way. And yes, to everyone who have just been, our hands and our feet. And in times when we are tired, they've just said, keep on going, you're getting there, you're almost there. When we know we're not there, they've always they've always encouraged us. And to those who continue to follow the book club, and to all those readers who joined us during the COVID-19 period, for all our food that time, and to everyone who had just come in, who have just said, okay, this is my group, we just want to send our group to help. For those who are planning to come, please do join us. And you don't have to come here, but just start something, anything from your community. Don't look outside far, just look right next to you and around you, because that is where you can start something. And Dr. T, I believe that get the right people who share the same passion as you. Because without that passion, Dr. T, I believe that Vunilagi wouldn't have come this far. So big pinakapakalibu to everyone. And if I missed out your name, I'll probably say it in the next in the next part two probably.
Part 2.
So Vinaka Dr. T, I think that's all from me. Vinaka.
Yes, man, we talk about Clever Rock on behalf of all of us and your many followers. Yeah, we just wanted to say we talk about Clever to you and your beautiful family, and also to your sister Kanisi for laying that foundation from the beginning. And I'm sure many of the children that have gone through your program will never forget the support and the contribution you've made. Inaka. Rocco. And now over to you, Mariana, to wrap up and maybe to pick up from where Rocco ended there.
Vinaka, Dr. Tarisi, I think Rocco has mentioned everybody. She's done a really great job remembering everyone's names and the different groups who have supported us over the years. I believe that there were a few years back, you had invited us to come on to your show, and we said no at the time because Vunilagi has moved in a way where we really wanted to ensure that we were grounded before we went public. And that has been part of the strategy for us that by the time we start speaking publicly, as Rocco has been sort of the head person for that for us, because she's done such a wonderful job over the years. But in order for us to come out and publicly speak and talk of the history of this book club, we really wanted to be at a place where we could share some of the learnings, the very important learnings that we've had over the years. So I just want to say thank you very much for being patient with us, for allowing us the time to come back to you and let you know that we are now ready to begin sharing our stories and the stories of our amazing young members. We really appreciate that, and of course the support from everybody, not only in Fiji but the diaspora. A key element to Vunilagi have been our diasporic communities who have donated books, who have come on and read during COVID, and just supported us from whichever countries they were based around the world. And I think that is something that we can take away with us tonight. Fiji is at this time it's almost like we're in a transitioning period where we need to figure out how can we best move forward with what we have, not losing our identity and the key aspects of our cultures and traditions, but also ensuring that we pick up the necessary tools in order to shift our generations forward into the future. And I think one of the key things is going to be the partnership between the diasporic communities and those on the ground. For those of us who are coming, who have been educated, grown up, lived overseas, it's important that we make partnership with those on the ground, those in the villages, in a way that is authentic, that protects the dignity of our communities rather than to exploit, and to ensure that we are listening to one another. Just because we grew up overseas, it doesn't mean that we have all the answers. We have a lot to learn from our own people back in our countries who have Indigenous knowledge and experiences that can help us in our own identity and our own future. So I think for tonight, we are very grateful that we have had the opportunity to share this story, to share this good news that has come out of Nanuku. Nanuku, like I said in the beginning, has always had a reputation that was negative, but through the children, through this book club, the children have shown that because of them, when we paid attention to them and invested in them, they changed that negativity into good news. The good news that now comes out of Nanuku that has been sustained over the last 8 years. We didn't just go in and exit again, or go in, collect our data, and move out of the community again. But Vunilagi was able to be sustained because of the dedication of our team. And we have been able to ensure that the information or the news was transformed through the children. That we can now say good things about the community because the children are the ones expressing the goodness that arises out of them when they are given safe and wholesome spaces to develop and to be educated. So thank you very much for having both Rocco and I. I'm so glad that Rocco is online with me tonight. She knows that I don't like to public spaces that much, but if there was going to be a platform that I was going to come on and speak at, it was going to be yours. So I'm very grateful that you have given us the opportunity to come on together and to represent a bigger team behind us who have made possible the work that has been done over the last 8 years. Vinaka Vakalevu.
And here's to the next 8 years. Wow. So, so congratulations, Mariana and Vinaka Vakalevu Rocco, for believing in, Mariana's vision, especially, with your story of coming into Fiji from Australia, and, trying to start something from ground zero. And, now looking back for the last 8 years, it's just so enriching and so empowering. And yeah, I was so blessed that I was able to do some reading during COVID, and so happy to see the children join me during my book launch in August. And I hope when I'll be coming back in a few weeks, I can be able to drop off some books with you, Rocco, in Nanuku. Some of the bilingual books that I've written that the children can, be able to use both at the St. Christopher's Home as well as in Delkusha, and also for our children in Nanukwe. So on that note, vinaka bakalevo bikim rororo na marama o bitor nangonongo mo babi di vinaka bikim rororua na nomro di mata bubale e na non rabito kun bikim unrawe na kela to soichi no non rabaka tabulidi na lubenda bir talangani tumbu-tumbu rabaka rongo chumini ko vinaka bakalevo vinaka na bito kun iti ko berto Mariana bata kay Rocco kerto na ni board ni Vunilagi Book Club belet se levu tal na kaer to beta ia na rawa nga ke pakanta sule na nonta bito ko ni beira to we ia binak bale usar Mariana binak bale Rocco sana may dapat ko na nonta to bital no ni ko, but I look forward to part 2 and part 3. binak bale usar, you both have a very
Naka
wonderful
Dr. T.
evening. Binak bale Rocco lolam usar bale bikem de nanuku, but I will let you know Rocco when I'm back in Fiji galindoyan in Biloti and Nanuku. Nakabaliw.
Nakabalib Dr. T. Mode.
Nakamad Rocco, Nakamariana, naka isa naka makalevo victim ni nabarang at kumay. Thank you so much everybody for all your beautiful comments acknowledging Mariana and her vision to start this book club, Vunilagi Book Club in Nanuku in Vatuanga. And now it's expanded slowly after 8 years. And I'm just so inspired. I'm just thinking of so many villages all around Fiji. We have a lot of retired school teachers. This is something that we tried to do in the Mosi village. We identified that there was a lot of retired school teachers who are in the village, that they can be able to start their own, book or reading sessions. But Talanoa today has really made me realize that, it can be done. If we follow what Rocco said, we have to work with the right people, right people with the right heart condition and with the right mind and the right vision to be able to get anything off the ground. sababu ni mina kedha ni bikim ni kedha na siama tiku mai, lolong bimbi sarai ni wakale bikim ni to thoko, me dhapta langola katarama, na sik ni matanga dana nganti chuki makoi, di kua da chuku mei malebani pati ke na nuku, mei watuanga ni mataka, dana nganti sarai makoi na siama chuku mikina, o Miss Makoi 2025. O asupa bali mai Hawaii. Tai wadit karona bitang no tiko na ola kaloko na bongi ni mataka. Sa lolong ten bali bikim ni nakabali besar na siya mati kumai ni sama de mata. Naka. Wadi Rocco. Ya. Wadi Mariana. Naka.